Hello. I'm going to do a beer review for you of a beer I have never tasted, ever, to my knowledge. In fact, I've never had this beer. Though I am no stranger to Sierra Nevada's beers. Sierra Nevada Brewery, like the name Sierra Nevada, Northern California. They were founded in 1979 by the guy's name is Grossman, and he still runs the brewery. And they were founded. The brewery started up in Chico, California, and I take it that's in Northern California, Sierra Nevada, a very beautiful area in Northern California, to my understanding. And their beers, they've done pretty well with it. They have a second brewery in North Carolina. And between the two breweries, they employ, from what I saw on Google, their website, they employ over 1,000, just a little over 1,000 employees between the two breweries. And Sierra Nevada is one of those brewers or breweries that they don't make bad beer. I mean, I'm not saying they make the best beer on earth, but they have yet to make a beer, to my knowledge, and I've drank all their beers. Through the years, I've drank their beers for a reason, because they're all good. Some breweries, that's kind of hit and miss. As you know, brewing beer is a recipe and ingredients and technique. And some brewers seem to just put out beer without really, it's not the best. And other brewers won't sell anything unless it's excellent. Sam Adams comes to mind. Dogfish Head Brewery comes to mind. Sierra Nevada. And I'm forgetting a bunch. But there are breweries that if they brew a beer, you know, if you're a beer drinker, you're going to want to try their beer. And Sierra Nevada is one of them. Again, they're founded in Chico, California, Northern California. They've been around since 1979. They have a second brewery on the East Coast in North Carolina as well. And I just got out of work, and I've put in a pretty long work week, and so I'm ready for a beer. Now what I have here is Powder Day IPA. And you're wondering, what on earth do they mean by Powder Day IPA? And I actually had to wonder that myself. And yeah, trying to get the most bang out of my buck for this camera I bought for these videos, which has this showcase feature. This is a 6-pack, as you can see. I paid $11.95 for this at my local modern market, which, you know, because I live in a small town, we don't obviously have a big distributor around here. It has to get brought in, so you're going to pay $1 or $2 more for beer here. If you live in a city or a small city, you probably get this for cheaper. But that's how it goes with these things. So that's a 6-pack. I think I'll just leave those two there for now. Now this is Powder Day Double IPA. It's a double IPA, all right? And let me talk about the stats for this beer first. It's 7.7% alcohol. So that's a fairly strong beer. 7.7% alcohol. The IBUs, International Bitterness Units, on this are 45. That is per their website, what that says. So 45 really isn't a very bitter beer. But this beer is double hopped. So they put a lot more hops in this. So why isn't it more bitter? You know, if it's double hopped, you might ask. And the answer to that question, if you ask that question, is that the way they hop it, when they double hop it, I'll explain that, how the hopping a beer goes. When they brew the beer and they grind up the malt barley, first off, before I talk about that technique, I'm going to read off what exactly is in this beer. At least this is per their website, Sierra Nevada. The ingredients of this beer. All right, this is where the candles come in, all right? They tell you on their website, the malt they used is Munich 2-row pale malt, that's barley malt. Munich, they use Munich malt, and then 2-row pale, which is standard for brewing ale. They also put wheat in here, so I expect it to be a little hazy from the wheat and probably from the dry hops. Alright, so they use Munich malt, probably very little of that. That's probably like 1/5 of their barley bill. They used 2-row pale malt, which is standard for brewing any ale or stout, is 2-row pale. And they added a little wheat malt, probably another 1/5. You know, so 90% 2-row pale, probably 5% Munich malt, which will add flavor and body to it, and wheat malt, which will add some alcohol, and it'll be a little tart, and it'll also impart a hazy color, you know, hazy cloudiness to the beer. Wheat malt also gives the head, you know, the foam on it, more retention. So I expect I'm going to have a hazy beer with a lot of lace in the mug. That's from reading this. I don't know, we'll see. The hops, they tell you the hops. They use 7 different hops in this. They use Amarillo, which I like. That's a relatively new designer hops. Been around for about 15-20 years, but so they use Amarillo. Chinook, which is a very strong hops. It's been around for quite a while. Comet, another strong hops. Citra, which I'm not familiar with. Hercules, Idaho 7, Mosaic, which is a great hops, and Polaris. A couple of those I'm not familiar with. And of course they use ale yeast and water. 7.7% alcohol by volume, 45 IBUs, bitterness units. The original gravity, that's something I haven't talked about. I'll do that in another video, the gravity, which will tell you how heavy and filling the beer is. Original gravity was 18.2% or degrees. Finishing gravity 3.3. Original gravity would be like before they ferment the beer. Before there's any alcohol in it. It's just like a syrup, really, at that point. And after they had 18 degrees on that. I think it's degrees, I'm not sure. It's 18. I never really followed that much. After they fermented it, the fermenting process converts a lot of the sugars into alcohol, and so they wound up with 3 degrees. So you expect to have a fairly strong beer with, in terms of alcohol, which it is, 7.7. And probably fairly easy to drink on the palate, because 3 degrees or 3% on I'm not sure what it is. It looks like degrees, all right? 3 degrees and 18.2 degrees. 3 degrees being the finishing. So I expect a lot of hooch in it, 7.7%, and which is a fairly strong beer, but not an incredibly strong beer. I've seen them a lot stronger. I think anything over 7.7% personally, I think you start sacrificing taste. I don't think a beer is meant to be, it's beer. It's not supposed to be really strong, you know. It's like everything else these days. Everybody thinks stronger is better, stronger is better. I don't think so. I think you will lose out if it goes much more than 7. Some brewers are able to finesse a good tasting beer out of a beer much higher, or like 9% or so. All right, so 45 IBUs, 7.7% alcohol, and I read off the hops, and it's time to open the can. All right, here's the can, and Powder Day. When they're talking about powder, I read their website. They're talking about the hops when they dry hop it, which I'm going to explain how that goes once we get into this. Double dry hopped Powder Day IPA, double dry hopped. And there's the can. Talk about the hops, because they've got hops all over this. This beer is all about hops, but 45 IBUs isn't exactly a very strong, very extremely bitter. It's not extremely bitter. And you see they got little hops on here. I don't know how that shows up on the camera. The reflection is some hops, right? There you have it. Powder Day IPA, double dry hopped. There's more hops. So they want you to get the idea that this has a lot of hops in it, and apparently it does. Now let me explain something about the hops and how they're used when they double dry hop something. If I'm brewing an ale, right, I just want to brew a traditional ale. I'll take the wort, which is the wort, W-O-R-T. It looks like oatmeal, with water in it and warm water, and it smells sweet because there's no hops in it yet, and all the sugars that you've converted over with the warm water at different temperatures, actually all the starches have converted to sugars, which are the fermentables. And it smells sweet, actually. When you're brewing in the house, the whole house smells like pancake syrup, more or less, because it's got all those sugars that you've just converted over from all the starch that's in that barley malt that you've ground up into a powder almost. So then I'll boil it maybe for an hour, thereabouts. Just boil the whole thing in a big kettle. At that point, I start throwing my hops in while it's boiling. And when I throw the hops in while it's boiling, it depends upon the time. If I'm boiling it for an hour, I may throw a bunch of hops in. It depends upon the recipe, but I'll throw some in at 30 minutes. I'll throw some more in at 45 minutes while it's boiling, and maybe throw some in right in the last 10 minutes of its boil before I end the boil. Now what that does, it actually imparts the bitterness to the beer. More bitterness, some flavor, or some aroma, but mostly bitterness. Especially the earlier in the boil I throw the hops in, the more it's just going to impart bitterness, which will offset the alcohol taste as well. Later in the boil, if I throw some in at the last 10 minutes of the boil, it will impart aroma, so it'll smell like hops. And this is double dry hopped. Dry hop means they put the hops in after the boil. I've boiled the beer, I put my hops in while it was boiling. I let the beer cool. Now, I do some things to it, strain it maybe, and then I put it in fermenters and put some yeast in with the water when the water's cooled off enough so it won't kill the yeast. Usually about 60 degrees Fahrenheit, thereabouts, depends upon what you're brewing. It's more complex than this. And then I put the yeast in, I might put an airlock on it, and for some traditional ales you don't. You just let it ferment out, and after a day or two, it starts bubbling and you get all that foam on it. And that's the fermenting process. And dry hopping is when you put more hops in while the beer is still while it's cold. And so let's say it's been fermenting for 2 weeks. It's almost done. It's almost ready to go into the keg, the can, or the bottle, or into the mug, whatever you're doing with it. Before it's almost done, I'll throw more hops in. Now what happens when I dry hop and I put more hops in when the beer obviously isn't boiling, it's room temperature, a little cooler than room temperature. It's usually, about 60 degrees, 65 Fahrenheit. It won't really change the bitterness. It won't take out some of the oils that impart bitterness to the beer. But it does greatly enhance the aroma, the smell of the beer. So dry hopping doesn't impart bitterness. Dry hopping is the addition of hops after you've boiled it while it's fermenting and almost done fermenting. It depends what you're doing. So I throw some hops in before it's done, and it's going to smell hoppier. So they double dry hopped it, and it will also impart a cloudiness, just like the wheat will in its way. They double dry hopped it means they did that twice. Means they threw some hops in maybe 10 days before they kegged the beer, and then 2 days before kegging time they threw more hops in a second time. So it's double dry hopped. All right. That's that. I'm sorry for all the technical stuff, but we're exploring this, so let's check it out. Let's see what we got here, huh? All right. This beer has been sitting outside all day long, and it's like 10 degrees Fahrenheit outside right now in central New York. All right. They could have filtered the cloudiness out. So if this is not cloudy, it's because they filtered it. Because dry hopping and throwing wheat into the barley, the malt, should give me a cloudy beer. It does not look, well, yes, it is cloudy. Well, I could smell it already. Get every drop out of there. Yeah. I'm ready for a beer. There's the can after I'm done with it. Indeed. Indeed. It is a fairly, you should be able to see it yourself. I can see the camera screen on this. I can see what you're seeing, more or less. And the color representation for this camera is excellent. So what you're seeing is more or less what I'm seeing on the Sony ZV-1 camera that my son talked me into getting. All right, that's the color. Smell it. No, these are scented candles. That doesn't help. Let's get that out of there. So I can smell the candle, actually. 4 for $1. I don't know what that is. I didn't think about that, but all right. So all I could smell is that candle. I should have thought of that. This candle are scented. I don't know what they're supposed to smell like. It smells like vanilla, I guess. Well, I could smell that. It smells like hops. So if you like a really hoppy smelling beer, you'll like this just for that. Nice creamy white lace, I don't know, orange amber color. All right, time to drink this beer. That's my dog. Not bad. Actually, that's really good, honestly. My dog. I just put stuff in for his ears. I have a basset hound, and those big long ears are problematic. The poor dog has, they all do. It's inherent with the breed. But I just put a bunch of stuff in his ears. Hopefully, I think it's helping him out. This dog is a labor of love. This is not bad. It's got a kind of a spicy taste to it. Like, it's quite cold. I'm surprised it didn't freeze up out there. This is not the best. This says 47, 46. This doesn't really give a good representation, I don't think. Ooh. Ooh. Got you. I'd freak if my camera just turned off or something. Right. It's cold. It says 46 degrees Fahrenheit. I would say it's colder than that. I think the laser passes right through onto the table, because it's been outside all day long, and it's late at night here. I just got home at 11 p.m. and I'm surprised it's not frozen. Oh, that's not bad beer at all. No, it's not bad beer at all. Actually, if you like IPAs, you know, check this one out. I'm pretty sure they've got brewery on the West Coast, United States, and on the East Coast, United States. You should be able to find this beer if you look around. Powder Day IPA Double Dry Hopped by Sierra Nevada. It's fairly easy to drink, you know, despite the 7.7% alcohol and all those hops. It goes down pretty easy. Pretty tasty. I'll tell you what, they're getting better and better at brewing these beers. Puppy, what's up? Making a lot of weird doggy noises behind me. Pay no mind to the dog behind the curtain. You know, I've been drinking these IPAs since I started making them, actually a long time ago when I couldn't get them. And I will tell you what, they're getting better and better and better at this. And particularly American brewers are really kind of leading the world in the effort. The IPA, International India Pale Ale, is a British style, came out of Britain in the 1840s, brewed specifically strong and bitter to ship to the Queen's soldiers that were in India. So it had to be strong and bitter to make the voyage. This is a West Coast, we now call this an American IPA, and more specifically, a West Coast IPA. It's a good beer. What else can I say about this? Not as lacy as I would have thought it would have been with the wheat, addition of wheat in it. I would have thought this would have been lacier. It's not as cloudy either. I suspect they filtered this some. I wouldn't say this is a clear beer, but it's not exactly hazy either, and they had to have filtered this some, which is just fine. But quite frankly, I wish more of them would leave the yeast in the beer. They almost, it's hard to get a bottle conditioned beer really that has the yeast in the bottom of it, like a German Hefeweizen. Hefe means in German yeast, Weizen would be wheat, or just a Hefeweizen, German style. The bottom of the bottle will have yeast, you know, that's settled out. But that yeast, brewer's yeast, is very powerful. It's vitamin B12. So one bottle of Hefeweizen will give you your full day of B12 vitamin. But our brewers filter that out. You know, beer does have some nutritional value. And specifically, if it's unfiltered, natural with the yeast in it, you're getting your B12 and some other vitamins and stuff in there as well. I gotta give my dog a snack. This dog really dominates me. And he gets upset when I'm talking and he's not part of it. And he's upset right now. Let me get him a snack. Calm him down. Shut him up. Here you go, pal. Eat up. All right. Yeah, not bad beer. Honestly, I wasn't going to do the scale thing, stars, 5 stars. I would just say, would I buy this beer again? Yes, definitely. This is another beer I would say I would definitely buy this beer again. Definitely. I mean, it's not the cheapest. Price factors in. Even if I was wealthy, which I'm not in money anyway. I'm a wealthy soul by the grace of Jesus Christ. There's something, I know what goes in beer, and it is not really expensive ingredients. And so, I don't know, price always factors in a little bit. You get a really good beer for a really good price. That makes it all the more appealing to me. And superficial stuff, like I like the can. I mean, if it's got a nice looking can or bottle, that factors in. Whatever. It's what it is. I would say, yeah, this is a pretty good beer. Get some. Get some. I can see this dog is not going to let me be. He wants to go outside for the 3rd time in 45 minutes because he's discovered a way to escape my backyard, which I have fenced in. Yes, and he pushed himself a little hole through the fence. And escaping is not a good idea for him in this village. He can get hit by a car or something or lost. I'm going to have to go out there and look for him. And right now it's single digits. It's very cold out. You're not going outside, pal. And that's the end of it. Sorry, little boss. That's the end of it. You're not going outside. That's the end of it, pal. It's really good beer. Honestly, this is very good beer. And it does have some pretty good lacing. I'll talk about what makes a good beer mug in another video. But really, having a good beer mug, if you're going to be a beer snob, is pretty essential gear. And there's a lot of really pretty, fancy mugs out there that, in my opinion, do not actually make a good beer mug. Part of the whole thing. Man hobby, whatever you want to call it. Well, there you have it. Sierra Nevada Powder Day IPA, double dry hopped. And once again, Sierra Nevada has brewed a great beer. Really great beer. Yeah, it's right up there. I wouldn't say it's my favorite, but I'd put it in my top 10 anyway. Top 10 beers, probably better. If I listed out my top 10 beers, this would probably be about number 6 or 7. I guess it would depend upon what I'm in the mood for or what was available. Right, pal? Little boss? I think I'm going to have another one. I've earned it. Trust me. I was outdoors working in this cold today, dealing with some problems at work and things with people. All in all, I enjoyed it. I actually like my job for the most part. But it has its moments, but it's work. It's work. Work is going to have its, if it's not, it's play. I'm not a rock star or anything. So, yeah, I've got a job that requires work and it requires dealing with people that can be problematic at times. You know, not perfect, less than perfect. And then it requires me, today I was feeling kind of antisocial. I'm usually not. I can be a social butterfly, to tell you the truth. Today wasn't one of those days. I'm like, oh God. I really had to brace myself to go into work where I'm at, which is Walmart at this point in my life. And I really just had to kind of steel myself up for it and thank God for my job and say, okay, I'm going to go move some groceries and deal with people all day. And I did. If I have one more old geezer ask me where I can find work for him chipped beef in a jar, I try to think of the strangest things people ask me to help them find. God. Yeah, honestly, I enjoy it. It makes the whole day interesting. When I'm out there working on the floor, and, excuse me, sir, I'm trying to find chipped beef in a jar. Like, honestly, that's stuff my dad would have eaten, SOS. But my dad was born in 1918. He probably ate that in World War II, that chip shit on a shingle, SOS. But I know where it's at. You've got to know where it's at in that store. You're not going to find it. It's kind of hidden. And, yes, you mean I would usually say, like what you use for SOS, gravy. Yes, that's it. They light up. I know what they're talking about. Right this way, I'll take you where it's at. I always tell them that. I don't like saying, go to aisle A13, section 8, a little down the middle. No, I'll take you where it's at. I tell them, I don't know the aisles by name. For the most part, I don't. But I know where it's at, and I'll show you. And I'm told they can't reach it, right? Here you go. You'd think I found the Holy Grail or something. Wait, they're like, oh, that's it. I said, well, there's 4 jars up on the shelf. Do you want any more? I'll take all 4. You got it, pal. Give them 4 jars of chipped dried beef. It's honestly kind of nasty, in my opinion. I used to eat it when I was a kid because, like I said, my dad was born in 1918. And we ate some of those old school foods. Yeah, that 7.7. Actually, it's just been a long day. And that was a strong beer. What's some other? Pearl barley. And I happen to know where that's at. And actually, pearl barley's pretty good for soups and stews and other things. And but people don't do that. They don't make soups and stews from scratch a whole lot, apparently, or they'd be selling more pearl barley. And I happen to know where that's at. So, what odd. I think a man was on drugs. He came in and said he was looking for a type of fish, is what he's telling me. A type of fish. He said it comes in a packet. It comes in a packet. And I think this poor fellow was on drugs or something. And eventually I got him a can of sardines, and that's exactly what he was looking for. But he was describing it as a kind of fish that comes in a, quote, packet. Now, he was looking for a can of sardines. And I finally got this guy to it. And he's like, yes. I said, right there is what you're looking for. He's like, yes, his face lit up. That's actually, honestly, Walmart, working at any store is a bit of a trippy place to work. Sometimes it's a lot of work. It's tiresome. It's stressful. and you're not going to get rich at it. But you're going to meet a lot of people. We pretty much feed society. People don't take their food out of the field. They get it out of the store. So I'm interacting with the whole society around me. You know, all ages, all types, black, white, Latino, everybody. They find their way in there sooner or later. Cops, prison guards, criminals, everybody. Elderly, you name it. Kids, I love the kids. I love the children. I love hearing babies laugh and stuff. And, you know, I could be working and really tired and I could hear a baby laugh a couple aisles over from me. It just light me right up. What I don't like about it, honestly, my job, if they don't sell this beer there, for one thing. I had to get this at Modern Market in Moravia. I don't like seeing people argue. Never. If you're with your spouse or whatever, don't argue in a supermarket. It doesn't look good. A lot of people go there. A lot of loners go there. It's their only social part of their entire day. And I can relate. There are a lot of men and women there doing their shopping, but they're not just shopping. It's their only time in their entire day and night that they're around other people. So don't argue, because for those kind of people, it can be quite a downer to see a man and woman fighting over child support, screaming at each other, and I've seen that more than once. Yeah, don't, just so you know. Man, that is good beer. Yeah, I wouldn't give this 5 stars. I'd give it 20 stars. Man. Oh, it's been that kind of a week, honestly. That kind of a day. I didn't have a bad day. Just didn't want to be there. It's one of those jobs that it's hard to explain. I mean, granted, I've got a long work life, and I'm going to start Social Security soon, early. My work life is coming to a close on this walk, at least working for other people. And I've worked a lot of jobs to include military and other jobs, a lot. And working there is in a league of its own, honestly. It pays the bills. I deal with people. I guess the beer review's over. No, it's not over till I finish this. If you're watching this, chances are you've watched some of my other recent videos on the topic of forgiveness. And, you know, probably a lot of that doesn't interest you. It depends what you're going through or whatever. But I'm going to, do videos on what I feel at the time. And I've been wrestling with the issue of forgiveness a lot in recent times. And been examining it. Because I want to do my best at everything in life. Everything in life I want to do my best at. And that includes dealing with people. And as you know, some people require a lot of patience, understanding, and sometimes forgiveness. So then I'll just post what I post, I'll put a beer review out there tonight because I've never had this beer and I thought I'd share my thoughts on it. Really not because I feel obligated to make a video. I just thought, well, let's do a beer review on it. So I'm here to tell you, this is a pretty good IPA. All right, thank you. Good day.